sorry once again to all of you for being late, but my plane unfortunately was delayed. Thank you to all of you on behalf of the Martens Center for being here today. And thank you, of course, to our partners, the Institute for Popular Studies, the Hanns Seidel Foundation, and the Center for Conflict Prevention and Early Warning for making this event possible in partnership with the Martens Center. And last but by no means least, thank you to our speakers for being here, and thank you for the interesting insights and opinions and facts that you told us today that I've been able to hear now. You don't have an easy task today because the Martens Center is working a lot on this topic, on security, especially on security vis-à-vis to the Ukrainian conflict. So we perfectly know how difficult it is to address such a complex issue, but thank you for doing that. As you know, the Martens Center is deeply promoting activities such as conferences and research studies on such topic. And this is also the reason why we are so happy to cooperate at local level on this issue. But thank you to the director of the Center for Conflict Prevention and Early Warning for pointing out that this is an international, a European and international problem. And it is true that this problem needs a European international solution. So we can speak at regional level because, of course, in different parts of Europe, the Ukrainian conflicts, such as other crises, are perceived in a different way. So it is important to fully understand what the consequences and the implications of such conflicts are at regional level. And this is the part, the analysis of the problem, but then the problem solving is something which has to be done at European and international level. So I fully agree with this approach, and I think that today we can deeply address the issue having in mind this approach and trying to figure it out what kind of contribution we can give through this analysis to the policy makers in order to find common international solutions to such big problems. So thank you once again for making this conference possible, and I will be very interested in listening the other speakers and in understanding how we can find solutions to this problem. Thank you. Thank you.
We thank very much the Martens Center. As I said, if you haven't done so, on your way out, there are some publications by the Martens Center that are very interesting vis-à-vis the Russian question, vis-à-vis the Ukrainian conflict, and are written by top specialists from Brussels. So that's why I'm very happy that we have the input of our friends. I will now move very quickly to the last speaker as the representative of the Romanian Foreign Ministry, Mr. Răzvan. Thanks for being with us. Would you kindly address the plenary session? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me here. Although I missed most of the debates here, I resume what has been said before, and I will make a few comments on the situation and on what is happening and the way we see the future of this of the security challenges and of the situation in the eastern Ukraine. First, what we have here since the annexation of Crimea, the illegal annexation of Crimea, we have witnessed a military build-up, a conflict in the eastern provinces of regions of Ukraine. And the overall is the fact that we witness a huge lack of trust with regard to one of our biggest neighbor, the EU's neighbor, one of the EU neighbors and the neighbors, namely Russia. We are seeing an environment which is pretty much unstable. We are perceiving a lot of lack of predictability. So we have a complex of elements which basically induces instability, induces a need to stabilize the neighborhood of Romania and the neighborhood of the European Union, as well as the neighborhood of Ukraine. Of course, the answers and the responses of the European Union were quite rapid, I would say, fast. We have the sanctions regime, which is in place because of the legalization of Crimea, so it's one pillar. And the second pillar of sanctions, it's the sanctions as a reaction of the involvement of the Russian Federation in the conflict in eastern Ukraine. When it comes to Romania, I would say that it was interesting for some actors to see that Romania was, from the very beginning, and it is, still is, and will be very vocal in supporting Ukraine, in supporting Ukraine as a sovereign state, in supporting the territorial integrity of Ukraine, in supporting through different ways the reforms in this country, the stabilization of this country, and the development of Ukraine. And I think that these are pretty decisive elements, and they are showing our willingness to have a prosperous and stable neighbor, namely Ukraine. Because it's not only in our interest to have such a neighbor, but it's also in the interest of the European Union and the Alliance. Of course, what triggered all these facts was the imminence of the signature of the association agreements between the European Union and the partner states, in this case Ukraine, as well as Moldova and Georgia, which, as a matter of fact, have signed this. And the whole package, which was proposed starting with 2009, here I'm speaking about the Eastern Partnership, which is one of the major EU initiatives towards the neighborhood of the Union. So, trying to pick up pieces and to show where we are staying and how we are trying to adapt our reactions to the new realities. Of course, this is something we should recognize. Maybe there were mistakes also from our side when it was about interacting with the neighbors of our neighbors, when it was about having a dialogue with the neighbors which were realistically or not signaling that they may have a problem once we have free trade agreements with some of our neighbors, partners from the Eastern Partnership. And this is something which maybe it was a mistake from our side, from the EU side. So, once again, we have to learn, and we have to learn from the mistakes. And therefore, we arrived this year at a strong need that we felt to refine our approaches towards the neighbors of the Union. And this is why this is why we had this November, mid-November, a joint communication by the European External Action Service and the European Commission on the review of the ENP, the European Neighbourhood Policy. And that basically concentrates on the two dimensions of the neighborhood, of the policy, the East and the South. And we are happy here back in Bucharest, we are happy to see that our ideas, which basically were to address the roots of the conflicts, which are basically, as a matter of fact, they are surrounding Europe and our neighbors. We should address the roots of these conflicts and tensions. And the concept that we have proposed in the EU was to have some sort of ad hoc, non-institutionalized formats of cooperation between the Union and its member states, the partners, and the neighbors of our partners, the so-called neighbors of neighbors. And this concept now, we can find it in the joint communication, and it's in the regional dimension chapter, and it's being named thematic frameworks. And basically, it has over 90% of our ideas in it. So, what we need to adapt ourselves. We need to be more flexible. We need to, when it comes to the terms of interacting with our partners, we need to try to help them to the extent that they want to. We need to have our partners convinced, this is very important, that the reforms, in this case the Ukrainian, our Ukrainian neighbors, to the extent that the reforms they need to pursue and to implement, this is very important, they have to be convinced that these reforms are for themselves. Of course, they are like European driven, but they are badly needed first and foremost from inside, from this society, from this economy. And this is something that they need to realize. So we have a more differentiated approach with this reviewed European neighbourhood policy to have more flexibility. We want to push and to help to be more reactive and more proactive, our partners, the so-called association agreement partners, Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia, in elaborating the reform packages and in implementing them. And we want to see also the limits within which the rest of the partners, namely Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Belarus, are willing to interact with the Union. The same applies for the partners from Northern Africa, namely Morocco and Tunisia at this point. And I think that what we have from the Commission and from the External Service, starting with this November, it's a more flexible and intelligent answers to the challenges, to the unprecedented challenges that we have to face since 2 years ago. So let's not forget, besides the Ukrainian crisis, what we have to face from the Middle East and what we have to face from North Africa. Okay. And the final point I want to make is, while developing the implementation of the ENP review, having this new concept, addressing the neighbors of the neighbors, also in a flexible manner, and of course in a more intelligent way, addressing clearly the needs that they have in order to prevent what it may be projected towards us, while addressing the neighbors of the neighbors, in our view, and it's not only the Romanian view here, we are becoming global. So these thematic frameworks are going to be open to other major global actors interested in having concrete actions with a higher degree of success in addressing the challenges. And here we are thinking at state actors like US, China, India, South Africa, as well as depending on the regions we are addressing, whether it's the Middle East or Northern Africa or the Caucasus and the Black Sea. And also to have the international financial institutions like the IMF, well, the Brethren institutions, the IMF and the World Bank, or to have other relevant organizations which are capable in addressing these kind of challenges and complementing the actions of the EU and the rest of the actors. Here I'm talking about the UNHCR, even the OSCE, sometimes even the Council of Europe, the UN entirely, of course, the African Union, and the list may continue. So these are my ideas, and I'm sorry once again, I will not be in line with what it has been discussed about